So tell me, what is your idea about?
Do you want
Marnie,
to start, Marnie, or you want?
go
Okay.
ahead.
So, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. I worked
Okay.
for school. Well, I worked as a licensed clinical social worker for 25 years in two different states, um, focusing all on pediatric and adolescent care.
Okay.
And currently, I work in the public school system in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and I cover a high school. And this idea from my side, because Marnie and I kind of came together on this, because she comes from a really different background, although also in pediatric adolescent mental health. Um, so, what I was finding was that we have, of course, a growing need for mental health support for children and adolescents. And
Okay.
the issues, from my perspective, are getting more critical. um, the rates at which we are doing risk assessments and threat assessments is really high. But where I'm running into a problem is reaching parents where they are. There's a lot of limit. I do a lot of parenting presentations. Um, Parents don't show up, and they're free. Um, and that's because it's not advertised well, it's not presented well. Um, the school district, I write curriculum for the school district, but it's subject to certain limitations, which are really frustrating.
A
And
curriculum for parents for the school district, you write, or a
I'm
curriculum for the
sorry,
adolescents?
I didn't catch that.
Are you writing a parent curriculum, or are you writing a curriculum for adolescents at the school? You're saying the school actually has a parent curriculum that
I
exists?
actually, I do both. I
Okay.
even have done one for teachers.
Uh-huh.
Um, and which is on really resiliency in learners. And I teach youth mental health first aid, actually.
Okay.
Um, and that's really it. Most of the work with children and adolescents is with parents, but parents kind of want us to work with the kids and solve the problem. And we really can't do that without the parents, but the parents aren't meeting us. So I felt like there was an incredible demand and need for curriculum to be available to parents according to their work schedules or their time constraints. Um, Accessibility is an issue. So really, that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Not
And
me.
I
I have a
guess
very
that's our
different.
niche a little bit, is um, helping support parents of children and adolescents, specifically related to the college application process, because an adjustment.
You want to go straight to the college application, not the behavior?
Not straight, but like we have, based on the grade, different issues that come up, both for planning for college, but also the emotional behavioral piece. And we have kind of broken it down by grade level.
Okay. Marnie, you want to give me a little bit of your background here?
So my background is definitely different than Tamar's. I have a master's in developmental psychology, another one in school psychology, a dual doctorate in school and clinical child psychology, and then a specialization in neuropsych. All I do is deal with children, adolescents, and parents regarding evaluation or therapy and parenting. So a lot of anxiety, a lot of ADHD, the overlap of those things in a clinical private practice. So what I see is my parents in my practice, they do show up differently, because it's a fee for service. They show up to me. And if they're not willing to do the work that I am confident that I'm not, to do with me, then they're not the right match for me, and I'm not the right match for them. So, and I wish them well, and I hope they find the right match. So we work very differently. In that respect. I happen to have two boys, one who's rising senior in high school and a college rising sophomore. And what I have noticed over the years, several years, is that and there's research on this too, that age 25 is like the new 18. These kids are not really ready to be launched into the world, for whether it's because of COVID, because of parenting styles have changed, because of the internet and the phone generation. The kids are less functional than they used to be. So the stress level of a high schooler, middle schooler, and high schooler, and then college kid is way different than it was when we were growing up. So when Tamar and I started this journey together, we were focusing on the high school to college application, because it is so important to have a support system. I happen to think our niche is the parenting of that age range for launching high schoolers, middle schoolers.
So you're talking about parenting, you're talking about high schoolers making the transition to college. Are they in college yet, or are they in high school at this point?
So I think it's a challenge. Both of them are challenged, and it's different. If you have a minor, so those are kids who are under the age of 18, parenting is different than having a kid who is a legal adult. So they're both important, but there is a shift between the high school child who is under a parent's, like, let's say, legal jurisdiction, and then you have those who are quote launched into college, and they are making decisions on their own and how to parent those kids. It's a little different. So
here we are, we're at 9 minutes into the call, but there's still not a clear articulation of what the niche and offer is. And this is the problem, because what you have an idea of is the problems, of which there are many. And what you need to be able to do is distill it down into solving a single problem, because that's what makes it sellable. What you put in your application was, we want to give a premier parent community. Well, a parent community sounds like a $30 a month proposition where people get together and talk and swap advice and things like this. But to create a premium coaching program, what we need to do is come up with one singular offer that solves one singular problem. So if it's parents in high school need this, parents in college, parents of college kids need this, it needs to be one or the other, because otherwise you're not going to have something you can clearly articulate. And if people don't know what you sell, they're not going to buy it. You see?
I vote for high school. I wanted to do high school, parents of high school students, and helping understand or decode the stress of a high schooler.
Understanding and decoding the stress of a high schooler. Okay, so understanding and decoding the stress of a high schooler is closer to an offer, but let me see. Will the parent come to you saying, I just need to understand and decode the stress of my high schooler? Or are they going to say, my high school is completely off the rails, they're smoking pot, they're not going to get into college, they're doing the bad stuff. I fear for their future, and I need a way to bring them back on track. You see, and so this is where we start to zero in on the offer, because for a premium coaching program, it needs to be a painful problem, time sensitive. We got to solve it right now. There's a big payoff to solving it. Kid goes to college. There's a big cost to not solving it. Kid goes to jail instead of college. And then that's when and a middle class audience. And that's where we're going to be able to sell something that is like a premium coaching program. And it's something we've helped before. I mean, Dr. Jenny has 170,000 social media followers at this point, and she's only focused on parents of challenging teens. And she's focused on decoding the behavior of the challenging teens so the parent actually understands it, and stopping the parents from making a lot of mistakes that are really helping to just drive them further apart from their teen. You see, that's definitely a proven niche, and it can work because it's such a high value problem, time sensitive problem. And they're worried about the kid getting into college. If you wanted to go with the college student, then what you have is a problem where the college student has to participate, the parent has to pay, and sometimes that can be difficult to put together. We've put it together under certain circumstances, something for college counseling centers where skills are needed, not clinical therapy, is one way to do it, and then it's paid for by the college. Another way to do it is with super high value colleges. Basically the kid is stressing themselves out because they're not performing academically, or because they want to perform academically. The parents very concerned about them. and it's really about highest performance.
So
But
my
where I think you want to
population,
go is behavior.
so my population is much more high achieving, high stress, anxiety. That is my population. And I feel, and really, I know we're not supposed to use the word anxiety, but worry, stress, the functional limitations of that.
Why can't you use the word anxiety if you're telling to the parents? There's no clinical relationship with the kid.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, because that's what I deal with all of the time, how to manage anxiety, anxiety disorders, perfectionism, what I call the worried well, how to actually get them to function better, because the parents are vibing very high and like high stress. The kids are very high stress and not functioning great.
And a lot of it, if you can fix the parent stress that they're projecting onto the child, you're going to fix the kid, right? So, okay, so parents of teens with anxiety, that's a niche. Helping parents to get the best performance and have the best relationship and to get the right behavior out of a high anxiety teen. That's a niche, that's an offer, that's something that you could sell. And what you do is
that's
you
what I'm
Sorry?
sorry, Rob.
What were you gonna
That's
say?
what I'm seeing so much of in the public high school is the incredible increase of anxiety and depression, especially post COVID.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's real anxiety
what-
and depression. There's also TikTok diagnosed anxiety and depression where they just start
right.
acting their way into the situation, saying this is what I have, right? So you have both of them, and that's your market.
And I am having trouble. I'm trying really hard to teach parents signs and symptoms and different ways to help their kids deal and cope with all of these things that are coming up for them in high school, and eventually hopefully transition to post-secondary education if that's what's the right fit for that child.
So that's how to articulate your offer. If you think about it from a market size perspective, you're seeing an explosion in anxiety. They don't need to be diagnosed with anxiety necessarily. They can be they can be pre-diagnosis, but the parents are pretty much convinced that this child has anxiety. The child might be, or the teen might be convinced they have anxiety. And you got school refusal. You've got underperformance academically, or you have extreme high stress situations where they're trying to perform to the maximum academically, and now the teen is stressing themselves out so much that the parents are worried, or
Yes,
the parents are pushing the
population.
teen so hard that it's driving the teen into an anxious state, and now the parents are worried. And that's your niche right there. High value problem, needs to get solved right now, big payoff to solving it, big cost to not solving it. And that's how you articulate the offer. You don't articulate it like a parent community. You say, I help parents raise or maybe set up their high anxiety teen for success. I help parents. Help. It's going to be along the lines of helping an high anxiety teen to be successful, both in the social realm and in
Supporting
the academic
parents.
realm. You see?
Yeah.
That's your niche. And I think that's a very easy to articulate problem because, and we just need to wordsmith it a little bit. I can articulate that in 30 seconds, you see, or 20 seconds. And that's the amount of attention span you have of somebody when they see you, and everything that you're putting out there, all the content, all the messaging, anything you're putting out there has to speak to that one problem. You see? And you'll probably attract more people who say, oh, well, my teen has ADD and all these other kinds of things, and maybe the program's still a fit for them. But if you focus just on articulating it in those narrow terms, that's when you can sell a premium solution because you're positioned as the experts on it. And
I
the
am.
whole case is if you just put your kid in therapy, it's going to be slow because they're going to see their therapist 1 hour a week. They may or may not comply with their therapist. Let's face it, a lot of teen therapy sessions are no walk in the park in terms of getting results from them or even the truth. And you say, well, you're actually the one who's with your kid the other 6 days and 23 hours of the week. And if we actually teach you how to manage this better, then your child is going to heal that much faster and they can be in therapy or not in therapy. You see?
That's the basis of parent guidance, which is, with kids, if parents can implement the strategies at home consistently, more often and more intensely, they're going to progress much faster than they would in the traditional therapy sense.
Exactly. And every therapist knows this, and no parent wants to accept it. They just want to drop it off, a lot of parents want to just drop them off at your office and say, fix them, right?
Yes.
Right.
You're going for the parents who understand that there's something they can do, and they're very worried. Usually
Yes.
the kid is on some kind of precipice or has already gone off the precipice academically or from an emotional standpoint, and that is where they're going to come to your program.
And what I see with my population, it's not so much that they're not performing academically, it's that they're not really sleeping. They're going out, and on the weekends they are partying really hard. The unhealthy behaviors because they don't know how to regulate what's happening in their experience. Right. The pressure for an ACT score of a 33 or higher. That's the population I deal with. When it comes to, what do I have to do? How to not just keep up with the proverbial Joneses, but how do I beat everybody and still have friends?
So it's like I teach parents of high anxiety teens how to help them perform academically, be healthy, and low stress, and curb their coping behaviors, something like that. You see what I mean? There's going to be something around those three things that you're driving towards. Coping behaviors might not be descriptive enough, but if you can really be that clear, that's when you'll make sales. I heard at the beginning of the call, what I heard was too many problems that you could solve because you know they're all there and because you can and because you have the ability to do it. But just because you have the ability to do it doesn't
mean we're exhausted
in the offer. You see, this is the classic thing that many therapists do, and it's about focusing down on that one niche and problem. And then when that happens, you're going to start seeing much more sales because people really clearly understand that you guys are the experts in high anxiety teens who are acting out in unhealthy ways.
So one of the other questions that I have, an issue, because we've been working on this project now for about 8 months, and
why aren't you launched?
Well, because we've been struggling to figure out how to market ourselves, where to market ourselves.
Yeah, so this is the whole thing. Because of the lack of the focus in the offer, that sets you up to be completely blocked in creating a curriculum, and then you're confused about your own marketing, but it actually comes down to the lack of clarity in the offer. And this is a very, very common thing. I get these calls from people all the time, and they're like, I built this program, can you help me sell it? 80% of the time, my answer is no, I can't help you sell it because you haven't built a program that's sellable. And so marketing actually begins when you're planning what the offer is going to be and you're choosing your niche, because we have to create something sellable. You see? And then most of the material, even if you've developed material already, most of it will fit into that offer that we come to. 80% of it will, you see? And then we can get you to launch. And so now you have the clarity in the offer. It's going to be easier to figure out how to market it. And, you basically need to be marketing through, let's say you're doing a parent webinar. It's like how to effectively raise high anxiety teens with challenging and difficult behavior. And you probably get a lot more parents showing up to that webinar.
Yeah, I actually have a presentation that I already wrote, my own presentation that I didn't give to the school district, called When to Worry About Worrying, which I think is written. No. Okay.
So this is the great example of messaging. When to worry about worrying. Okay, that tells people when they need to be worried. But what you need to target is people who are already very worried because the problem is so obvious and so advanced. They're like, I need to take action now, you see? So if you just change the title of that presentation, you're going to have a much higher resonance. Everybody knows I'm already worried. I don't need to be told to worry. I need to be told what to do to get my kid back.
So it's more like what to do about worrying.
Yeah, well, it's what to do about your high anxiety teen. What to do with a high anxiety teen would be better. It's a good start, you see. And so it's like everything, once you get the offer clarity, the messaging flows from that offer clarity in such a way that people clearly understand that you're the person who's going to help them fix the problem that they already know they have and is a priority for them to solve. And that shortcut, that's going to decrease your sales cycle time by like 80%. Because people are like, yep, I mean, they already know that, let's see, they already know that they have a problem. They already have accepted they have to solve it, and they're much more ready to buy. That's a better market to go after. It's kind of like the marketer's term is like not problem aware at all, and then there's problem aware, and then there's solution aware. The solution aware people are about to buy. You see?
But how will the people find us?
So you
Once
could
it's
be
marketed
presenting through
correctly.
schools, but if you're not in control of the school's marketing, if you're not giving them the material to market and actually talk to the parents and invite the parents, you're not pre-writing that for them, you lose a lot of control. And then somebody who really doesn't understand marketing at all is like kind of cobbling together an email at the last minute and slapping her out to the parents, and then you have very mediocre results. There's other ways to do it though. Like we've seen a lot of examples working through online webinars and Facebook groups. So there's taking out a Facebook ad, running a webinar for parents of high anxiety teens, and the way you target that webinar helps to get the higher net worth people in, and then making a pitch on that webinar. Or I've seen people, and we've helped people to do this, run Facebook ads, which say, join this Facebook group for parents of high anxiety teens. And in there, you're teaching some of the fundamental tenets of your approach and starting conversations with your market, which leads them into a sale. You see? And that's kind of the way that you would have more luck. You might be able to go through schools, you might, but you have to be the one who designs the material that they are putting out to the parents. Otherwise, what they put out to the parents, the messaging will be completely wrong. You see? And that's the key part of it. You have to be in control of that message and that clarity in your offer so that people actually show up 50% sold on the webinar already. You see, when you have that. And that's what's going to help you to really be successful.
And for me, I don't write curriculum. I've never written, well, curriculum like this before. When it comes to an online coaching program, I give talks all of the time, you know, Facebook live talks and such based on here's the topic and let's talk about it. So I actually am not as skilled in that, but I'm happy to talk to you about a lot of different things, you or whoever it is. So the parenting, the talk, the facing forward piece of it, very comfortable with. The how to write a curriculum, not so sure.
Okay, so the way to get a curriculum out of you usually is, number one, clarity of offer helps it flow much better because you have this singular focus. Like I said, without clarity of offer, you're going to get what I call basically writer's block, either in the curriculum or in the marketing or both. Okay. The next thing to do is you have to have an avatar of a client, your ideal client for this program. And I'm talking about a photo, and I'm talking about a one-page description of a day in their emotional diary and what they're worried about. Once we do that, we've created the equivalent of a person sitting in front of you in your office, and you're already formulating in your mind, oh, here's what I need to do with this person. You see? And then with the way that we do the launches, we don't actually record the full curriculum before we launch the program. We record the first couple of weeks of the curriculum. We'll have a lesson plan saying, this is what we think the rest of the curriculum is going to be. But what we find is once you get your first couple of clients in the program, it gives you a lot of clarity about what the rest of the curriculum is, and your plan is either right or it needs to be adjusted. And then you record the lessons just ahead of when your first clients need them, and that creates much higher quality lessons. It gets you launched much faster because you're not trying to create this curriculum in a vacuum. And the other thing that can happen when you're making a curriculum is you're used to delivering information and watching the reactions of the person as you deliver that information. That's missing when you record a video. You see? So we use the ideal client avatar to get you to the point where you feel like there's somebody in your office. and you're talking to them and you start having the same conversations that you've had 100 times. And that's usually when the therapist gift starts coming in, because you're all very highly trained and all very good at creating rapport with people. And when you start facing a camera to record a lesson, usually it goes out the window because you don't feel that connection. So we have to take actions to actually create that connection. I've even had one client have somebody sitting on the other side of the camera who they know, and they deliver the lesson, you see? And that's worked with that role play has really worked as well. But it's whatever gets that therapist gift that you have and you've been using for decades to be able to get that to click it, and then there's no problem after that. You see?
Can you speak about, I get a little confused about the language and terminology one could use. So I'm used to anxiety disorders,
Sure.
perfectionism, all of those kind of things that I would use as a licensed psychologist. What can I use in a coaching program?
All of it, so long as it's you have no prior clinical relationship with the child the child or the parents who are in your program. Because when you have a clinical relationship with the child, you have a clinical relationship with the parent. That means that you're trying to convert them from therapy into coaching. And I believe that's a no-no. But if you're just selling something to the parents, you can use all of these terms because it's a psychoeducational non-clinical program where you are not treating the parent or the child. You are educating them about the issue and giving them a plan of action. And so you can use all of them in my understanding. And there's on this channel, which people will be watching this on, there's interviews with attorneys. But just to clarify that, a parent coaching is always coaching because you're not diagnosing the child. The child's not in the program. You see?
Right.
And so in that case, you're okay. Now, if you were doing trauma coaching for trauma survivors, you got to be careful as heck. I don't generally let any of my clients do that, you see?
So having the license is helpful from a knowledgeable factor, right?
Credibility. Yeah.
To sell to a client, to sell to somebody, the reading I've done and what I understand even in my own private practice is that know, like, and trust. If somebody feels they know you and they get you, they will trust in what you're saying and happier to buy anything, whether it's your concept or actually financially buy.
Once they have clarity on the problem you solve, and that is the problem they have, the next thing that you do is you establish your expertise. And so let's say that you're a parent and you have a very challenging teen and you've clicked an ad on Facebook and now you're getting served like 4 or 5 different experts. And so you have Dr. Marnie and you have Tamar, and you're both mental health professionals, decades of experience working in the school system. Your whole lives are dedicated to helping teens and parents. And then you have Joe, the life coach, who doesn't want a real job. And so he got certified yesterday. And because he had a difficult teen, he has now appointed himself as the advisor to every other parent with a difficult teenager. Common situation with people who are newly qualified coaches. But any parent with half a brain, who are you going to hire? Your content is going to be completely different. He's going to be talking about how he solved his relationship with his parent, with his teen, and you're going to be talking about the hundreds of parents and teens and thousands of parents and teens you've been working with over decades, and the level and the depth of knowledge is just going to come across. Your credentials can be used in promoting a coaching program, so long as we're providing clarity that it's a coaching program and it's not clinical therapy. You're free to use them, you see, and that's completely fine. And so, people just need to look at who you are, but it's also the content that comes from a mental health professional is very different to the content that comes from a life coach who was certified yesterday. That's why life coaches come across so weird and act like dancing monkeys on social media. It's because they don't have the depth yet to be able to actually teach on social media. Whereas the real teachers are coming out now. And that's why a lot of the life coaches are, in my opinion, running out of time in this industry, you say?
Yeah, it's about credibility, and it's about our years of learning and using the most updated evidence-based research to get results for families.
Yeah, and you talk about your results. You tell stories. You anonymize the stories. You're not breaking HIPAA. but you can tell a lot of stories about the things that you've done and the people that you've helped. The life coaches just don't have that repertoire of people.
Mhm. And
So
I
from
find
there,
those
once
vignettes
somebody's actually
helpful.
looking for a solution, it becomes obvious who they're going to go
Mhm.
with and who are the people who really know what they're about. You
We
see,
just have to
and
get it out there in a way that is, tangible to people to understand what we're doing
exactly,
well.
exactly.
So
Yep.
how would you suggest we proceed in building this kind of concept? And Tamar and I are coming from, again, super different backgrounds. She's in a school setting and I'm in a private practice. So
Mhm.
how do we do that?
Well, you go through 4 stages. First one is the offer development, developing the ideal client avatar and really getting very, very clear on what it is you're selling and what the messaging, how you're going to express this offer is going to be. Second part is you build just enough of the program to be able to start offering it. So if somebody says yes to you tomorrow, you can accept money and start working with them inside of the program. And then the third is to create a marketing video. Now, Marnie, you've seen some of my live trainings. We need to
Mhm.
create a version of that for you. And this is where you teach some of the fundamental concepts and get parents bought in on your approach before they even speak to you. So they show up on a call 60% sold already. That's very important. And the next part after that is about getting people's eyeballs on that video so they can then be educated on your approach, schedule a call with you, and that gives you the highest chance of you being able to sell them a premium coaching program like $2,500, $3,000, $4,000. It's what a lot of
Mhm.
parenting programs, parents of challenging kid programs, are selling for right now. And for you to be able to have a decent flow of clients, I should say, coming into the program. You see?
What kind of time commitment when you develop a program like this, and let's say it's a $4,000 program, you have 2 experts teaching you these things, just saying, okay, what does that look like in a daily or weekly functional commitment? I can't even, I don't know it to
Sure.
understand it.
So let's say that you have your market. It's going to be a bubble of time in producing the program. Usually it's about 4 to 6 hours a week if you're following a structured process like mine. Other people will take longer if they're trying to figure this out on their own. But what it does is that's going to get you to launch within a few months. Then from there, if you're actually running the program and you got your marketing strategy dialed in, then you're going to be probably spending about an afternoon a month on social media content. We teach to do it in a very batched operation. So you don't wake up in the morning, what do I need to put on social media today? I can't think of anything worse than that. You just do it in a single few hours, and then you have all the content you need for the month. Then if you want to have 5 people per month at $3,000 each in your program, you're probably going to speak to 20 parents per month. I like to have about 25% of people who contact you about your program say yes to working with you, pay the money up front and start. Okay.
Mhm.
And then there's going to be a little bit of time on the marketing. And if you're using ads, and your ad campaigns all dialed in and working, that's not much time at all. If you're not using ads, then you'll probably do some podcasts, maybe daytime TV, things like this that help to be able to drive traffic to your offer, and start building your brand that way. Maybe you have your own podcast that you spend a couple of hours a week actually putting out episodes and building listeners, and then you make the offer on the podcast to schedule a call with you, and that's how you get your 20 calls a month, you see. So there's lots of different strategies to do it. It's less than part-time hours generally once you are up in full swing. I would say that you want to have a model that's less than part-time hours, and you guys can divide and conquer. You don't have to do everything together. The biggest problem that I see with people who are in partnership with each other and running a coaching program is it's like the committee shows up for every decision and everything the business needs to do. There's 2 of you doing it. You need to divide the actual load and the workload, communicate effectively, and then that's what's going to cut your time commitment down a lot more, because you know that one person takes the lead in the community, one person takes the lead on the calls, or one person takes the lead on the marketing, and the other one person takes the lead on serving the clients in the program, these kinds of things. You need to divide that up effectively so that there's enough delegation to take advantage of the fact that there are two of you and to bring in more clients to support both of you, you see?
So can you now speak to how you see the financial, how does that work? Like, so when we were on that, when I was on that coaching call with everybody, the one that you had done, the live one, yeah? Okay, so I understood there were the goals. It seemed like a number of those people were different than mine per se, regarding the financial why can't I say the word? How lucrative their program is. How does one figure out what that looks like?
Well, let's be realistic, because there's a lot of people kicking around $1 million testimonials in this industry, and they're being misleading. So the first few weeks and months of your program, you're generating just a little bit of revenue. You get a sale here, you get a sale there. Maybe it's like a couple of sales a month. Within the first year, you're in this building year to get you up to a point where you're like, okay, I'm about 80% of my full-time income that I need to have in order for this business to be interesting. And so it's like fits and starts at the beginning. In your second year, generally speaking, then that's when you're going to start to see very regular stream of revenue. You know, if I do this marketing, I'm going to probably see about this revenue. You see?
Okay.
And then somewhere in your second year, you can make the decision if you want to. Do I want a lifestyle business where I'm just at like a couple of $100,000 a year and I'm working less than part-time and that's fine? Or do I want to try and take this into the 7 figures? Because you have that path in front of you when you decide to scale. You're either going to stay stable, enjoy your life, work less, or you're going to try and make a much bigger impact. If you're going to try and make a much bigger impact, you're going to be using ads, and you're going to probably have somebody who's doing your intakes for you, and you're going to have somebody who's doing a lot of the admin stuff in the program for you, and a couple of people working for you. And that's what gets you into the upper 6 figures and then into the 7 figures. And then when you want to go from like 1 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, hire different mentors who can help you to structure the company so it can actually be capable of that without it being chaotic inside.
Right.
I've made that journey up to 15 million a year, and I know you need very different people helping you to get the business launched, to get the business stable. That's one kind of person. And then to go into the scale, there's a whole different set of decisions and situations you want to get into if you want to do that. And you have to be ready to be a business owner if you want to get into the 7 figures. That makes sense?
So it does. I'm just, my mind is thinking of these as giant lily pads that we're going to jump from one to another.
Kind of like that. And you're going to
so-
change. You're going to go through personal metamorphosis at each level.
So right now, as I work in my full-time business, Tamar works in hers, in her school. If we are able to or willing to commit to doing, I'm saying, like you said, 4 to 6 hours. No, right?
My structured process is like 4 to 6 hours a week to get you launched.
Okay.
Somewhere between 3 and 4 months from now.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for operationally defining for me what you're thinking, because that's how my brain works. Okay, so 4 to 6 hours, and then launching in 3 to 4 months, and then from the 3 to 4 months, it's a year to make the next jump, to understand what's working, to then reevaluate. Okay, I got it. Okay,
some people take off a lot faster than that, but I like to set that expectation, because there's a lot of BSers in our industry who are talking about, well, this person made $500,000 in 3 months, and this person made $1 million in 6 months. And they probably did, but they probably weren't operationally ready to support that level of clients. And they're probably pulling their hair out and hating their life in the process. And a number of them disappear as quickly as they appear. Whereas if you build your business slow and steady, then you know that business very well, you're running it very well, you know exactly what it takes to do it, and you're able to scale slowly, and you scale with structure, and you scale with a degree of certainty, and all your clients are really well taken care of, and you get to enjoy your life as you do it. And so that's what I'm a fan of, is slow and steady growth over time, so that you know, 2 or 3 years from now,
That's
you're
our
like, well, I
motto.
can just focus on this business all the time, and this is great. You know, it's just a lot of people in the industry who slap up a couple of testimonials and don't tell you what happened next, and they're doing it to try and hard sell people, and I don't like that kind of stuff. I like to say grow your business responsibly, and because we all, I mean, we all have families, we all have people, you have dogs to feed, and there's all kinds of stuff there, people relying on us, right? And so we have to make sure that we set the right expectation, and you don't quit your job and expect to make $1 million in 3 months, because it doesn't happen that much.
No, and I'm a single mom of 2 boys, full time by myself. You know, so no, I do have human mouths to feed, and yes, animals.
Yep.
The funny thing that you had said that I call quiet growing. So you had asked why we hadn't launched yet, is because Tamar and I were taking this model of quiet growing. We're going to figure out what we're looking for, what we want to do, and move it forward in a way that made sense for us, rather than feeling rushed and doing it wrong. I don't mean we can't be a little messy, but it's certainly not to get over our skis.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some people come into business because they want to make big money, they want to be real big, and they're going to work every hour of the day and really sacrifice for a few years to get it done. And some people want to create a lifestyle business where they work smarter, not harder. And it sounds like you're in the second category.
This call has been extremely helpful because, you know, this slow growing that Marnie and I have been doing has, a lot of it's been trial and error, trying to figure out how to accomplish our goal of this business. And this is a question for you, because one of the things that we've focused on is, in order to have an audience to market our resources to, is to grow an email list. And how important do you think that is?
There's a lot of advice about that, and growing an email list is fine, but you need to make money while you grow your list. It's not about growing an audience first and then hoping you can market something to that audience, because you don't always grow the right audience. So you have to be able to make money with a small audience and then grow your audience over time. And that's the way to launch. There's a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, you have to build this huge audience, and then you can sell them. Well, you're not going to sell them for 3 years while you're building this audience through sweat equity.
Okay, because I think that's where
it doesn't make sense.
Stuff.
Yeah, most of the people, when they try to figure this out on their own, frankly, what they have is they understand, they kind of see what other people are doing, and they try to figure out what other people are doing, and they figure out about 50% of it. They don't always figure out what they're actually doing. And then all of these tasks are like a big ball, and you're trying to put it in order. And that becomes hard. And, you know, what mentorship does is give you a structured process. Do this first, do this second, do this third, do this fourth, do this fifth, which gives you the fastest. And I mean, the only reason to have people like me around is really time to market, because it cuts sometimes months, sometimes years out of the figuring it out process, and helps you to actually just get it done and launched, you see?
So have you had an opportunity to look at the Parents Living Learning Community? That's our site that we already have up there.
I haven't been there yet, no. But if you want to send that over to me, and, you know, if you really want to have a discussion about how I can help you to move this forwards, then you could send that to me. And I think it's in your application form, actually. And then we can reconvene on Monday and actually have a serious discussion about how to turn this into a business if you want to. The purpose of this call is really the hot seat for YouTube, but if you want to have a more serious offline discussion, we can.
Yes, it seems like, and I had thought this before going in, and Tamar and I talked about it, that we were too broad and needed to focus.
Yeah.
And we're focusing back in on what feels, when I say easy, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I mean it like it feels natural, which is going through the anxiety route, and focusing on helping families, parents of kids with high anxiety.
Yep.
And I think
make
that
it as
fits
simple as that. If it's simple to say, it's simple to sell, you see. And it's a painful problem that needs to get solved. And We know there's a growing market out there of people either diagnosed or self-identifying as having anxiety or an anxious teen. It's a winner.
Yeah, I appreciate this. This is very interesting. Are there other things that I should be thinking about as we head into this weekend? Because I'll be thinking, as I tend to do.
I have one. I have a question, Robin.
Mm-hmm.
How important? So Marnie has a weekly blog, for instance. How important is it to have our content copywritten?
Not. The content is out there. Somebody's probably teaching what you teach already. What people pay for is help with implementation. If people want information, they can buy a book or they can buy $100 online course. They won't solve their problem because they don't do what's in it and there's nobody guiding them on how to implement it. They'll buy a coaching program that's of a high value because they want somebody quarterbacking them every day on actually how to make these changes in their family and with their child. And that's what they're really paying for. So information is everywhere, but the right help to actually implement that information makes a difference between you actually doing it or just kind of knowing about it, but never actually doing it.
Is that where you say there are the coaching calls? So you have your program and then the coaching calls that go into the group.
And the support community. Yep. So they can come into the support community and say, hey, I had this situation with my teen last night. And I want to just check that I implemented this right. So this is with the situation. And this is what you teach in the curriculum. And this is what I said. And this is what I did. And then the next day they have an answer from you. That's going to work better than any book or online course.
Is that cohort specific? So like the first cohort has their own, so you just keep adding to the people within the program?
Yeah, everybody can be at different stages in the program. That's a more stable marketing model. The launch model means that you only make money a few times a year when you launch a new cohort, and it's high risk because you're trying to market to a particular start date. And you know what people are like. It's better to just say, I'm going to open the doors. I'm going to take in 3 people now. I'm going to close the doors. Then wait a week, 2 weeks. I'm going to open the doors, take in 3 people and close the doors. And you have people at different stages of the program. And the people who are coming up behind somebody reaffirm their knowledge. People who are ahead of them are they're soaking it all in, and everybody has a good experience.
So how do the coaching calls include everybody, or they're just the new 3 people?
No, you have 2 coaching calls per week. Whole group shows up. Whoever's there, who's ever there for that call. That will work much better.
Okay. And then it could be built to a really many faces on a Zoom.
Yes, exactly. Once the Zoom is overflowing, number one, you're highly profitable. You're making a lot of money. You've got big smiles on your faces. Everything's good. Next thing you could do is hire a third person who works for you, who you pay by the hour, who does 3 coaching calls per week. Those are the 3 that you're not on. And all of a sudden, what your parent offer has is calls every day and support community every day. And that's an awesome offer.
Yeah. That's what I've seen some people, not in my space, but or our space a little bit differently doing. And then they offer like the VIP where there's an extra with one of us.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. So right now it's about building the clarity of offer and the
offer, and then implementing a program that is focused on solving that one problem. Becoming the experts on parents of high anxiety teens.
Got it. Amazing.
Then you have something more sellable.
Amazing. Fantastic.
No worries. Well, this was fun.
It was.